The Sex Ed with Tim podcast is recorded on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands.
You're listening to Sex Ed with Tim.
Hi guys, it's me, Tim. Before we start the show, I wanted to answer a voicemail. And if you weren't aware, I do have a voicemail. I've said it before on many episodes, and it's also in the description. Speakpipe.com/sexedwithtim. You can leave me your questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want. If you need advice or anything, I'm happy to answer it. Whether or not the advice is helpful is still up for debate. So, let's listen to a listener's question. He goes by the name of Jay, and here's Jay's question.
Hi there. First of all, I'd like to say that I love your show, and I think it's amazing what you're doing, and just sharing all this information with people is really great. That being said, I have this issue where I do porn for a living. I have a shoot coming up in 2 weeks. I've been training for it. It's going to be a group scene, so it's going to be double penetration, and I'm sure a lot of very lengthy members. So I've been girth training as well as length training. When I am doing length training, it seems like no matter how much lube I use or how slow I go, I'm pulling my toy out and finding a little bit of blood, and I'm wondering if there's something I can do to counteract that and be camera ready when the shoot comes up. So hopefully you can help me with that. Thank you.
Hey Jay, thank you so much for submitting that lovely question. I'm so glad that you're a fan of the show. I'm also laughing at how you said, I have this issue where I do porn for a living. I'm like, wow, that's a good issue to have. And also, I find it so funny that you just referred to a cock as member. Like, you're a porn star. Can't you say dick or cock or whatever? But anyways, back to your problem. You said you were bleeding from length training. The most common causes of bleeding from any sort of anal activity are fissures or an STI or hemorrhoids. So because you are a porn star, I'm going to assume that you get your STI checks regularly, so that can rule out the STIs. And you said that it only happens during length training, so we could probably leave out anal fissures, which are on the external part. So that leaves hemorrhoids. Now, first of all, what are hemorrhoids? Hemorrhoids are basically when the blood vessels on your anus and rectum are swollen and they're filled with blood, and it can cause a lot of irritation, and they could burst because of strenuous activity or friction or whatever. The most common treatment for hemorrhoids are high fiber or like any sort of fiber supplement. And then there's also like staying super duper hydrated and exercising regularly. And then there's also a sitz bath. A sitz bath is when you sit in like your tub of warm water and fill it with Epsom salts. And then you sit there for like 10-15 minutes to help relieve the pain caused by the hemorrhoids. Now, if you are still bleeding after all this, I do recommend going to a doctor. Mind you, I am not a medical professional. I should have said that before, but I'm saying that now. Like I said, I don't know if this advice is any helpful, but it is still advice, and I hope it does you some good. But anyways, If the fiber and the hydration and the sitz bath are not working, it's probably an internal hemorrhoid, and it does need to get checked by your doctor, who will then make a decision whether to operate or give you some sort of, I don't know, like medication for it, whatever. Again, not a doctor here. Just like the cue card and the TV shows. Anyways, so yeah, I hope you do have some luck with the bleeding. I would love to see the porn when it's done. If you could send it my way, that would be great. I want to see how well you do. And if all else fails, maybe ask the studio to CGI the blood out of filming. I don't know, or whatever they call it, ADR, I guess. But whatever it is, I hope that you are doing well and you're healthy and you're keeping your butt in shape, and hopefully no more bleeding for the next foreseeable future. So there you go, Jay. Have great butt sex and best of luck with the double penetration scene. And to the rest of you, if you have any more questions like this, or you just want to drop and say hi, I would love to hear from you. Now, back to the show. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. I'm your host, Tim, certified sex educator. I identify as a chaotic homo. And what does one gay sperm say to another? How do we find an egg in all this shit? Today on the show, we have Yannick Picard. Yannick, how are you? Comment ça va?
Hey, oh my God, in French too. Je vais super bien. I'm doing really well, Tim. Thank you for having me on today. So yeah, it's great to be here.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. You know, she's a polyglot. Thank you. Well, before we jump into our conversation and everything, let's hear a little bit about you, girl.
I have been a coach for the past 4 years, and I focus on self-sabotage and all the ways that we do it. We do it to ourselves. And I'm really fascinated by how many ways we actually take, like all these like adaptive behaviors that we take to keep us in our comfort zone. So that's my thing. That's what excites me. And that's the group of people who like I love to help, are people who are struggling, and they just like keep putting stops in their way, not knowing exactly what's going on, and just helping them unravel that and sort of like get back to who they are really, if these adaptive behaviors hadn't come around.
But like, what's so bad about staying in your comfort zone? I like it.
Well, hey, you know what? Like the comfort zone, like on a rainy Saturday afternoon with your blanket, the nice pillow, and like binge watching a series. There's nothing wrong with that. That's amazing. It's when you start doing that every day for months on ends that you might get curious as to, okay, why day 163, what's going on?
Feeling my sweats.
Exactly.
But I like it. Okay, maybe not like it. I mean, you know, I like good things, but in moderation, right? In moderation.
Exactly.
You have to have things in moderation. So what got you into the coaching thing? Like, you're so passionate about it. Where's that fire coming from?
The fire came from getting dumped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's
I was
talk.
I was seeing someone, and I thought that things were going great. Clearly, after 9 months, a little out of the blue, actually, was told that, hey, we're done. Actually, I think that I'm using the exact words that he said. We're done.
Was he literally just like, we're done? Just like,
pretty much.
No context?
Pretty much, we're done. And I'm like, okay. So I felt I had so much empathy as like the person who's being dumped, like usually is the person that's angry and all that stuff. Cause like you're usually caught off guard, right? Like it's not something that you've been expecting. Like, but when you're on, I guess the person who's doing the dumping, sometimes you've had like a couple weeks, sometimes even a couple of months where you've sort of like been playing with the idea. And so you're a little bit further ahead, but I found myself to be so compassionate and like having so much empathy for how that might have been for him. And so after that, I was looking for strategies that were to help me actually sort of like move on. And I stumbled across a coaching program that funny thing, my sister had actually just completed. And she said, you really should be doing, like, just take a look at this. And I think that you might find what you need to pull some strategies and put them into place to help you out. And so I just basically, I signed up, and the course was NLP based. And so I signed up and learned a lot about myself in the process. And interestingly enough, like as I was going through the course, I was able to pull from the course and implement different strategies to help me turn the page.
Wow, what an origin story.
Right?
I would have been way less compassionate. I've been like, fuck you, just like get out of my life. How do you pull so much empathy from that kind of situation?
Tim, listen, I have no idea, because I think it was a first for me. A week later, we met just briefly for maybe 40 minutes. I needed to grab some of my stuff from his place. And when I closed the door and left, this overwhelm of empathy, and I felt so sorry and like for him and what he must be going through. And
oh
I
my
just,
God.
and it was a first, because usually like what would come up for me in the past is sort of like anger and like what's going on, like you're like all the questions, right? And this time, for the first time, it was, wow, like for someone to not say anything during 9 months and then break up and then say that it had been sort of like in the back of his mind for a couple of months. I'm thinking, it's like, wow, it's like, I really feel for you that like whatever's come up for you has come up, and you didn't feel that you could talk to me about it. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that just seems so like, I guess being someone that's been dumped, that's always been on the dump
On the
side,
receiving end?
I've never.
On the receiving end, yeah.
Because I'm a bottom. No. I'm versatile. I've done both. But like, for me, it never gets easier giving or receiving the bad news. It's just like that empathy, the way you say it just sounds like so natural. And did you get any sort of closure as to that breakup? Like, it couldn't have been just like, we're done. Like, what was going through his head if you found that out?
Did I ever get closure? Like, closure in the sense that, hey, we had a conversation and I got closure?
This is why.
No.
Oh, God.
And I feel that a lot of us don't.
We don't.
And so we think, and this is where the interesting part is, that we think that we need it for some reason. We think that we do, or that we're entitled to it.
But like, aren't we? When it comes to something like that?
No.
Why not?
I don't think that I don't, as much as I disagree that, hey, like you don't give closure to someone else. I disagree with that notion. I don't think that it's owed to us. So
we're not owed any sort of explanation. Okay. But
no. But I do understand why there's that need, because I think that part of it has to do with understanding, hey, like where did things go wrong? And so that I know where to focus on next time. I think that a lot of us actually use that as a mechanism to say, okay, you know what? great. Like I sucked at communicating. Okay. You know what? I'll take that on. And that's something that I can work on. But not having anything, it's almost like not having anything. It's like, oh my God, there's so many things that like we're not even having a conversation because it's all of me. That's the conclusion that I got to. It's like, oh my God, it's so bad that it's almost like the school teacher and getting your report card and then having the parent teacher night. And then the teacher saying like to your parents, like, yeah, I don't even want to speak with you tonight. And then it's like, oh my God, like how bad is it that like that's not happening?
Okay. You know what? I can understand. And I'm only saying that I can understand because I have some retrospect. When I was dumped, like several years ago, I was like, what did I do wrong? Well, my brain was trying to fill in all the gaps. It's like, well, am I like a shitty person? Was there something that I did to make him do because he cheated on me? So I was trying to figure out, like, was there something that I did that to make him do that?
Yeah. So Tim, your brain actually wants a neatly, like a story that's like tied up in a bow that has like a beginning, an end, like a middle, an end, that it all makes sense. And then you can sort of like wrap that up and then sort of like put it aside and then move on. And then under certain circumstances, when you're on the receiving end and there isn't closure, it's almost like your brain says like, I can't complete the story. Like what's going on? Like I can't complete the story. And then, okay, so if I can't complete the story, what's the meaning that you attach to it? And then oftentimes I find that the meaning that's attached to it is in line with the beliefs that you have about yourself.
Well, what do you mean by that? Like the beliefs that we have about ourselves in the story?
Yeah. So you might think, and I'll use myself as an example. It's like, oh, great. So I'm not worth like getting like the reasons why, like getting an understanding. I'm not worth it. It's okay. Bottom line, I didn't think that I was worth it as a human being. So it's like that was in line with who I thought I was.
I am triggered by that word worth because that's what I'm working on in therapy right now. I have a very bad sense of self-worth. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to find my worthiness, not from within, but like from external validation. Like, am I a worthy friend? Am I a worthy educator? Am I a worthy employee, brother, son? Like, I just need something to tell me that I'm a good fucking person.
So Tim.
Yeah.
You're an amazing fucking human being. And now, and here, I'm going to tell you this right now. I want you to fucking own it.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to get semi-serious. That is actually very nice to hear, but it's also a very difficult thing for me to hear because I am so programmed to think that that's just not true.
Yeah.
And that's probably from like years and years of like social conditioning that like, I need to be perfect. I need to be, and especially being gay, like where we're in the gay community, your looks are your currency. Your sexual prowess is how you're determined to be worthy. Like if you're not this skinny or muscular white twink who has like a huge cock, then you're basically invisible to the rest of us. And it's like, but am I still a person? Like it's so difficult. So hearing that compliment was very hard.
And I get that for some it might be triggering because it basically is opposed to what your set of beliefs are. And then so interestingly enough is that like those sets of beliefs really are what drives you and what get you to be and how you show up. And so if you've got this strong belief that you're not worth it, then what happens is that it's almost like catnip with a cat. Like you program your brain that you're not worth it. And your brain is on catnip, basically looking for evidence of every time that somebody will do something that you're not worth it. So somebody will basically cut you off in traffic And then your brain say, here's the proof that you're not worth it, didn't even signal, and cut you off.
I get so mad.
And then so on and so forth.
Right.
But that's a human being brain.
Right. That's just the aggression and the adrenaline just like firing away.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's just so much easier to be miserable, to be angry.
Is it though?
Okay.
Is it, or is it just a story that you're spinning?
Ooh, okay. Wow, read me. That's true. It's so much easier for our brains to find evidence of the bias that we've already formed.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's so much more difficult to retrain, to rethink, to unlearn some of the negative things that we've already know.
Yeah, it is. But the beautiful thing is that it can be done. Like, you've trained your brain, unbeknownst to you probably up until now, that's how your brain works. But the great thing is that you can teach your brain differently. And over time, you can basically have like a complete like reversal of those beliefs.
Right. Wow. Okay. That sounds like a challenge, and I'm pretty sure that didn't come easy. So, can you talk to me about the coaching program that you underwent just to get to how your brain is right now? Because I am just in so much awe of the way you speak and the way you are teaching right now.
So there's a couple of different programs that I took, but the first one really that got me into coaching was something that actually came out of France, and it was a master practitioner of NLP that created this sort of like NLP. Like, he pulled like most of his stuff from NLP. And
neuro-linguistic programming.
Yes,
right? Yes. Okay.
Absolutely. And so what he did is that he actually took the NLP practice that he had and looked at what were the strategies that he used most often and that were most successful. And then he basically sort of like pulled them in and created this other program that taught that and favored heavily these strategies. And so a lot of them had to do with like dealing with emotions and dealing with your beliefs and transforming them, and then getting grounded, having the ability to just basically anchor yourself. Like, when you're about to walk into a situation that usually you would get anxious at, just basically teach you how you can actually just walk in there and have that anxiety not go through the roof like it normally would in the past.
As someone with diagnosed anxiety, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are.
Boy.
So
yeah. This episode is sponsored by Xanax. Okay, so that sounds amazing. I should probably take that course, honestly, to get my brain working. You mentioned on your profile, you call yourself the Naked Coach. Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. So that was $1 million idea that was just basically handed to me on a silver platter. And it comes out of, so at the start of the pandemic, I, like a lot of coaches, like, we were doing coaching like face to face, and then all of a sudden, like the opportunities for networking or meeting people like at house parties just like completely disappeared. And so I signed up for a coaching program that taught how to do exactly that, but online. And what I would do on Fridays is I'm got a techie background. So on Fridays, what I would do is I would do sort of like a tips and tricks video by going live into that Facebook group of the coaching program. And I remember there's one day I was walking my sister's dog. There was a park. It was really, really hot. So I'd taken my tank top off and I just went live into the group and just did like my weekly roundup of tech tips. And somebody in the group commented, it's like, "Oh my God, the Naked Coach." And then it just really like hit me like right between the eyes. I'm like, oh my God, just like Jimmy Oliver like does with food, like I can do with coaching and effectively sort of like bring people back to who they are if you remove all the layers of protection that they've put on over the years, all these adaptive behaviors or self-sabotage or however it is that you want to name it, and then just get back to who that person is at
Your
their
nakedness.
core. Yeah.
Oh God. Emotional vulnerability, intimacy. Oh boy. I am breaking out into hives.
Yeah. And you know what?
Scary.
You're not the only one. There are like, we come in all shapes, all forms, and to that, it's like we also have like all of these adaptive behaviors depending on what happened when we're growing up and how as kids, we're freaking smart. Like our brain is amazing because we learn these adaptive behaviors so that we can get our primary needs met. Like if you use the Maslow's like hierarchy of needs.
Hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we basically
Food,
like we're
shelter,
smart. Yeah. We're smart enough to basically adapt so that we get those basic needs met. And so, yeah, it's just that what happens is those are amazing as kids so that we get our needs met. But over time, we don't even realize that because we repeat that behavior over and over and over again, that it's almost like it becomes part of who we are, our DNA. And then 20, 30 years later, our brain still thinks that that's working, even though that hasn't worked, but it goes back to, like this worked in the past. So let's use this strategy. And then this worked in the past because you used it so many times. It's really created like that path in the road. And it's like a superhighway. And so your brain says like, well, this worked in the past, so let's do that. But what you're not realizing is that like as an adult, that adaptive behavior actually isn't working for you anymore. And to the contrary, it's keeping you stuck and oftentimes just stagnant. And then you're wondering like, why isn't this working?
Right. What are some examples of those maladaptive behaviors that worked as a kid but doesn't work as an adult?
People pleasing.
Stab me. Ow. I'm a people pleaser.
Perfectionism.
Oh my God.
Of victim. Avoider.
Anxiously attached. Thank you.
So, well, that's attachment style, but yeah.
God. Right. No,
Yeah.
but oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. People pleasing, like when you're a kid and you just want to like, I don't know, get the perfect grade for and show your report card to the adults that matter in your life. And then that transfers into like wanting to be the perfect boyfriend or whatever or what have you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Oh my God.
It's all these things that come up that happen as a result really of wanting at a young age to have your needs met and them like basically saying, hey, it's like the normal way isn't working. So what do I need to do? How do I need to adapt to have this basic need met? And so, yeah, so you've got like I've named a few. There's like restless is another one, hyperachiever, hyper rational. Yeah. So you have all of that basically comes up and sort of like helps you along at a younger age. But like when you get into like your late teens, 20s, 30s, and I mean like 40s, it's really baggage is because it serves no real purpose in the here and now, in the present moment. It doesn't serve purpose, and it in most cases is just a hindrance, and it's stopping you from you basically being like awesome and great.
Like throwing a tantrum in your 40s is no longer cute.
Right. Exactly. So, and when it's caught on like CCTV and it's replayed like somewhere else. Yeah. No, exactly. So
yeah.
you
Be
have
prepared
like
to
all
go
these,
viral.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the pleaser, listen, like, let me give you some, like a better understanding. So the people pleasing part. So underneath all these adaptive behaviors are awesome strengths. And so if you're a people pleaser, you tend to be empathic. You're loving and giving. You tend to be tuned
True.
into other people.
I feel.
Yeah, other people's feelings and needs. You're more emotionally self-aware. The original, like
The butt.
yeah, the original survival function is that you try to you please to earn attention and acceptance by helping others.
Yeah. Yeah. So like following that logic for me, it's like I try to put myself in your shoes and feel as much of your feelings as possible so that I can come in and fix it and be that like band-aid for you so that I can find some sort of worth.
Yeah, interesting that you say that, because that is exactly what it is that like you try to basically help others in that sense. But one of the things that is often that is something that's in your blind spot that you might not necessarily see is that by acting that way, which is like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like let's just preface that there's nothing wrong with it. But by acting in such a way, you actually might lead to a dependence on the person that you're helping. And instead of having them learn to care for themselves, you learn to always come to you for it. And then that basically fills your tank because you feel, so you see the circle here?
It becomes like a self-destructive, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. What's that saying? It's like you give a man a fish for a day, teach a man fish. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my God. So it's that. So it's like, because rather than helping someone or teaching someone to help themselves, you're kind of just like,
you're
this temporary band-aid. Yeah.
You're doing it because it fills your tank, but unbeknownst to you, underneath it all, that might basically create a dependence where the person will always come back to you, as opposed to learn how to do that for themselves, take that on for themselves.
Oh my God. That's so gross. And it's just like, just the thought of like so many people wanting to come to me, then I just get like really overwhelmed because where's the Tim time that I want? What about me now? I would like some of that too. Where like, it's just so much easier for, I guess, I'm speaking in a generalized term here, but like, I find that it's easier for us to give help than to accept help, because I feel like accepting help is some sort of like admission of defeat. Like you're admitting that you're weak. So it's just like, all right, I'm strong enough to help you. I'm strong enough to do this and all that stuff.
Yeah. The ego also plays a role in that as well. So, and then you have like all the masculinity thing where it's like, if real guys don't ask for help, they do it themselves. So there's a lot to unpack there. It's not just one is what I'm getting to. So it might be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and some column C here.
Right. Oh my goodness. Is that like, are most of your clients exhibiting some sort of pattern of behavior, something that you've noticed? Like, what are the similarities that you see in them?
Well, I mean, like oftentimes, then this was a friend of mine, a great coach, told me it's like where there's a pattern, there's a story, and where there's a story, there's usually an event or a series of event that was experienced from not from strength, but from what's the word I'm looking for with the.
Like resilience, trauma.
No, it's it'll come back to me, but basically it's like, yeah, so it's like where there's a pattern, there's a story. And I've got the word in French, and disempowered. There you go. Disempowered. Yeah. So there's an event that disempowered them, and then it usually basically creates a story, and the story basically like creates a pattern as it gets repeated over time. Bottom line is that what I find is that we're all humans. We all have this. And it's just that some basically are more aware of it than others are. And then the question is, it's like, hey, it's like when something's not going right and you see a pattern, or you're not doing something that you know that you should be doing or that you want to be doing, and you don't know why you're not doing it. It's like, oh my God, like I really should be doing this, but I don't know, binging Netflix for day 163 is really tempting right now. Then that's where you sort of like, you reach out and you say, hey, it's like, I can't see my own blind spots. Like, can you help me see what I can't see right now? Because I know that I want so much more out of life, and yet I can't see what's stopping me right now.
We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Yes!
Hey, you sick motherfuckers! I've got a special treat for you. Need a new toy to spice up your sex life? Head over to loveshop.ca/sexedwithtim and get yourself a cock ring, a dildo, a vibrator, or even a life-sized sex doll. Damn, I guess love really does come in all shapes and sizes. Get 15% off your entire order when you use code SEXEDWITHTIM at checkout. They're shipping to all of Canada and the United States because North America is horny. That's loveshop.ca/sexedwithtim and use code SEXEDWITHTIM for 15% off your entire purchase. Happy orgasm! Do you like feeling sexy and looking sexy? Of course you do. Only my listeners are sexy as fuck. I have partnered with fetishwear designer Dale Kuda to bring you the hottest deals on custom jock straps, harnesses, hats, and more. Head over to dalekuda.com, that's DALEKUDA.com, and use code SEXEDWITHTIM at checkout for 25% off the entire store. Yeah, you heard me. 25% off. And cherry on top, free shipping. Oh my God. I have a few of the stuff that he has made for me, and girl, I'm wearing it right now. I'm wearing like a little jock strap so that I could easily just like slip a little butt plug or dildo every now and then here and there. And I'm on the train. I'm just like, thank you, Dale. That's dalekuda.com with the code SEXEDWITHTIM for 25% off your entire purchase with free shipping. With a deal like that, I swear I could come buckets, honey.
The show is about to begin.
Yes!
What are some of the common problems that your clients have come forward with, like ranging from the small to like the big issues?
Well, I mean, like some of the smaller issues is starting a business. And actually, like, which requires them to share what they're up to with people that they know. And if you have a strong people pleaser, the lie that the people pleaser, the adaptive behavior will tell you is that, like, oh, if you actually reach out to this person and tell them what you're up to, they'll think that you're trying to sell them something and they won't want to be your friend anymore, and you'll lose that relationship.
Ooh.
So that's one thing that I've helped people with. Other times it's having difficult conversations. I used to have a huge avoider, and it was just anything that was unpleasant, like, forget it. Conversations, like tasks. And yeah, it's like, okay, so it's really getting down to what's the story that's playing out in your head right now? Like what, because there's the real world, and then there's the world that your brain creates based on your life experience. And so the moment that you can get connected and really tap into what's the story, what's that disempowering story that you're telling yourself, that your brain is feeding you, that you're believing, nothing wrong with it, I'm just pointing it out, that you're believing is the end is what's going to happen. So, okay, so, well, my brain is telling me that by avoiding this, it's just going to solve itself. Okay, well, hey, you know what? That might have worked when you were 3 and somebody kind of cleaned up after you, but
because mommy and daddy will come over and
exactly.
change. Yeah.
But you're 36 now. So avoiding it, I guess the daddy, maybe a different daddy,
Daddy
will show
issues?
up. Yeah, maybe a different daddy will show up and clean it up for you. But I mean, you get what I'm saying is that
Right.
that whatever got constructed when you were 3, that like all magically made it disappear and worked itself out at 36. Those circumstances are different.
Mm-hmm. You have to be your own daddy to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, reparenting yourself is one of the most amazing things that you can do.
Reparenting yourself. Oh, I have to take care of myself.
Yeah.
That's so much work. I have to go and work out and eat healthy and go to the doctor. I can barely pick up the phone to check if I have, like, I don't know, an appointment coming up. Ugh, gross.
Yeah. I mean,
being an adult is hard.
But here, it's like you might have an avoider, a strong avoider. It's like, it's like, no, it's like, sounds like so much work. Like, forget it. I'm not up for it. I've always been this way. So, and a lot of people will hide behind well, this is who I am. Well, it's like, are you happy with who you are? That's not the point. This is who I am.
This is it.
So, yeah.
That's the self-sabotaging aspect of that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, it's just so much easier to accept, okay, this is it. I can't change it. So
that's a lie.
All right, bye. That's a lie. That's a lie that we tell ourselves.
Yeah. To keep us in our comfort zone, because that blanket is really comfortable.
It is.
But
it's like a weighted blanket.
Nothing exciting happens there. It's all the known stuff.
Because the adventure's in the unknown.
Well, at least in the stretch zone, which is like the zone right after the comfort zone, right? You've got the comfort zone, and then imagine like a bullseye. So the center is the comfort zone, and then the first ring is the stretch zone, and then the second ring is often referred to as the panic zone. So anything that has you jump over the stretch zone, oftentimes like your brain will say like, I can't do this. And so you'll immediately like scurry back into the comfort zone. But if you go into like the second zone and you just go in, you might realize like, hey, this isn't so bad. But you're like a couple feet from stepping back into the comfort zone, right? So the stretch growth zone, just like that second, well, I guess the ring just that circles the comfort zone. And the more time that you get to spend in there, the more that you effectively expand that comfort zone. And so what might have been far in the panic zone a couple months later might literally be what your stretch zone is, or where your stretch zone is. So taking that action, what was 6 months ago unthinkable, now because you've expanded that, is like, oh my God, this is nothing. I can do this.
That wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay. Like, to bring that back around to like sex and dating, it's kind of like, I don't know, you have this sort of self-sabotaging prophecy or whatever, and then you're like, I'm better off single. But like, if you just stretch yourself out a little and, I don't know, go to a bar or like a social, or like just walk around the village or something, and then it's like, okay, nothing bad really happened to me. You don't have to like jump into the dark room of a bathhouse right away when you're still in the closet.
Right.
Get your whole stretched out, you know.
So dating and relationships are so interesting to me. So when I go on dates, like I put I put the coaching hat like aside, but there's sometimes where after like a couple of dates or after texting for a little while, something comes up and I'm like, okay, this other person isn't a client. So I'm not going to coach them through what's coming up for them.
Same.
And so I have to let it go. And in some cases, like it really, like it, I don't want to say it killed me, but I was like, oh man, I'm like, damn, it's like, I had so much fun. And then just having to understand that, just basically realizing that, okay, you know what? Some shit's come up for that person, and they're and it can be stuff like that, what you and I spoke of at the beginning. It's like, hey, it's like how I'm making them feel is discordant to the beliefs that they have about themselves. So let's say, for example, that somebody wasn't in a great relationship, and like they were in a relationship that was like, maybe their partner was verbally abusive, or wasn't really nice to them. And then all of a sudden back on the dating, and then you meet somebody who's kind to you, who texts you a couple times during the day just to see how your day's going. And then,
oh my God, sounds like my husband.
And then like after a couple of weeks, like you're there like, oh, yeah, like this isn't working for me. And you're like, okay, so what's going on? And so I just basically, I'm like, okay, I get it. So, and then I just pull away. But like immediately what comes up often is just like, okay, so I know what your history was, because you've shared that with me. And so I have a good sense of what's come up for you. And I get it. It's like, it's what your beliefs are about you. And then you take on like how the last relationship made you feel. And if how the current person is making you feel is somehow like doesn't like sync up, is discordant with what your beliefs are about you. It's like, hey, it's like, yeah, this isn't working. I'm like, okay, so let's see, like, what did I do? It's like, I texted you a couple times during the day. We had like amazing time together. And so like, I know that there's nothing on my end. And yet I just have to say, okay, you know what? I get it. It's like, it can be confronting for somebody who, although is looking for that, and I wish them that when they get there, is just they're on their own journey, going through their own process. And I just have to respect that.
But I don't. I'm owed an explanation. Like when I get ghosted or something. Like when I have been ghosted many times in the past, and then I feel this sort of like cycle of self-sabotaging like phrases and platitudes of like, oh my God, like you said the wrong word at the wrong time again, didn't you, Tim? Or you looked at him wrong, and it just becomes so much more challenging.
Yeah, but then all of that is actually feeding into like your beliefs about who you are. Because if you had like unshakable belief of like that you were like a fucking amazing guy, and like, you owe me that, you still need to own up and step up to that challenge. I challenge you by saying that those thoughts wouldn't come through your mind.
That I'm a pretty damn good catch.
Yeah. And you wouldn't say good. I'm a pretty damn good catch. It's like, you know what? Like, I think that you would probably get to the point where you say, hey, it's like, you know what? We're human beings. And I get that something happened on his side of the fence. And then, you know what? Like, just wish them well and not take it personally. It's like,
that's very compassionate.
What happens on the other side of the fence, the part that you're not tending is either a reflection, but it just says nothing about you in the end. Like, if anything, is more information that you can use, because if you realize that, oh, this is always coming up, you're the common denominator. So it's like, okay, so I'm the common denominator here. So clearly there's something that I'm not catching. And then if you can find that thread and just pull on it, get curious, just pull on it and just go down the rabbit hole and figure it out. Like, it's over after that. Like, I've coached people where I learned so much about me by them showing up because they're being a reflection of what was going on.
Aw, that's so sweet. What are some of the things that you learned?
No, it's like, I mean, like, it was, I was coaching a coach going through like some steps that she needed to take, and she was resisting, like she just wasn't being coachable. And so I ended the call, and I actually, like, I reached out to my coach and said, you know what, I was so ineffective. And then after having a conversation with my coach, I'm like, damn it. Like it was complete reflection, like, cause I was resisting like taking some steps, and that's just what came up during this call. And I'm like, good. So I cleaned that up. I on my side. And interestingly enough, on the next call, she basically said, hey, you know what? I got a sense that there might have been something going on your side. And I said, yeah, I said, you're right. I said, it rarely ever happens, but good eye. And she said, you know what happened after that? That basically opened up so much for me. You have no idea. And I said, what? And she says, yeah. She says, after that, when the call ended, I asked myself, why is it that I'm resisting like my coach's teaching, like my coaching, like what's there? And she realized that it was like a story that had been playing in her, like out in her life for a couple of years on a couple of different occasions that she just hadn't become present to. And when she did, like things completely shifted for her. And so not only did my way of showing up enact like something in her, but she also basically like allowed me to see something that I was stepping over.
Right. Wow. Coaches helping coaches. It's like, I wonder if there's like a very top boss coach that's like, let's see how big of a problem that you can tackle in my life, huh? Like therapist seeing therapists. It's like, I want to see the final therapist.
Oh yeah, exactly. I want to see the big boss. I want to see like
the grandmaster.
I'm just thinking like Mario Brothers, right? Like Super Mario Brothers. It's like, okay, I want the big boss. So
you look for the Bowser.
Yeah, exactly. Or like if you take like Sonic, it's like, okay, I want Dr. Robotic or whatever like he's called.
Right there.
Yeah.
And then get me to the final one and then see how big my problems are and then beat you to it. No, but those like self-sabotaging kind of like shame, guilt spirals, they're so easy to stay in. How do you help your clients get out of those like spirals? Like, is it through baby steps? Do you give them like an agenda homework?
So a couple of things. And one of the things that I always say is that whatever you resist will persist. So, and it's almost like, I know that you buried this in Pandora's box, and this is your Pandora's box, and that you've shoved it, like you've pushed it down. But consider for a moment that that's basically the reason why you're here today. And so I will help you, like I'll like through coaching, show you what's there. And like in some cases, yeah, it's baby steps. Other cases, it's like, hey, it's like, you know what? Here, I want you to journal and do this, like this little meditation and just journal for a week or two and just see what comes up for you. Because our subconscious holds like so many answers, so much like the key to so many things that we're dealing with. It's just that we aren't taught to tap into it. And so that's one of the things that I help my clients with, is just like to re-tap into that, and using different modalities, different like types of strategies. And yeah, it's like, okay, so what is the most effective way of helping with this? And I mean, like guilt and shame are like in the gay community are huge. So I like, yeah, that comes up like more often than not. Hey, I've got this, or I've got the situation. And it's just, okay, like I get it. I mean, like I've come across a situation where I matched on Tinder with someone, and like nice guy, and we were just chatting, right? And so I just got curious, like, hey, so like what are you looking to create? Like in terms of like a relationship, like what does that look like for you?
It's a big question on a dating site, especially for gay men.
Well,
not what are you looking for, or what are you into?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, no, like what's the big picture? And so I got him to get really, really present to what was showing up for him. and around relationships, like, yeah, like I want to be like in a relationship and this is what I want, blah, blah. And then we sort of like got to like one question led to the other. And this is like over a span of like, I don't know, like maybe a couple of days. And I really like, I'm super grateful because I really got to know him. But it was like, hey, like I really want this and this is what I want. This is what it looks like. And amazing like vision of the relationship that he wanted. But he actually was dealing with a lot of guilt and shame of being gay.
Oh my God. A gay man having self-sabotaging feelings about being gay? Brand new.
Yeah. And so he like, I mean, I'm not getting into all the details, but he basically like shared like a lot of stuff. And one of the things I just asked him, I said like, well, like, how is this going to play out if this is your way of being, but you want this? Like, there's a gap. Like, can you see that there's a gap, that until this changes, like until X changes, Y is unlikely.
Right. Until he learns to accept his gayness or whatever it is that he was struggling with,
Yeah.
he's not going to have that happy, fulfilling relationship that he wants.
No, because anything like getting into it is like anything that relates to that, basically, like he felt extreme shame, and that came from upbringing.
Right. It must be so hard to like date in like positions like you and me, where it's like you want to see them as a potential, but also like you try to compartmentalize that potential like partner and not see them as like a client. You don't want to do a case study on them. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's great in a sense, because what this does is that it allows me to be like freaking curious and just ask questions that like an like a previous version of me would have been like, oh my God, this is like, don't ask this because it's going to be too weird. I'm like, no, this is like, it's almost like, I guess, like an interview in a sense. So I'd rather know before anything happens that, hey, it's like, yeah, it's like, just imagine, like, I remember Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts had some rules, like, I don't kiss on the mouth. Well, it's like, hey, it's like, I'd rather know, like right then and there, if you don't kiss on the mouth, or if PDA is an issue, or
have a jewelry box and slap it. No.
Yeah, exactly. Or this or that or whatnot, because then at that point, I actually can make a conscious choice.
Whether or not to pursue this further or...
Yeah. Like, hey, it's like, is this something that I want to get into? Whereas in the past, I would have been more of like, oh my God, like I've got a guy who's interested in me. I don't care about the red flags. I'm not going to ask the questions because I don't want to know about the red flags. They'll just come.
The red flag is my favorite pride flag.
and so I like he's great. He likes me. There won't be any red flags.
That's all.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
It.
That's
all
that's important. So it's just really allowed me to get really curious and really present and just have so much more fun going out on dates. Whereas in the past, it's like, oh my God, this is a chore. It's going to be like boring and it's tedious. And of course, like I would show up as this is boring and tedious, and have like the energy sucked out of me showing up on a date
lethargic.
Because that's how the date occurred for me. Is that, oh, this is going to be work. Whereas now it's like, no, this is going to be fun. I get to like ask questions and get to know this other human being in front of me.
Like I feel that that's something that we lack, is this sense of curiosity, this compassion. Like, yeah, okay, fine. What if the date doesn't go as planned? At least you learn something about this person. At least you learn something about yourself. Mm-hmm. And don't see it as wasted time, but rather an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like we're missing that element when it comes to dating, which is just like, dating should not be a chore. Dating should not be tedious or whatever. It should be a fun experience for everyone. Whether it's sex, something casual, a hookup, or I don't know, you just get coffee, for fuck's sake, like something small. Be curious.
Yeah, just because however it is that you've made it out to be in your head, whatever the story that you made it out to be in your head, consider for a moment that that's how you're showing up. And so like, why bother showing up if it's tedious? Because you're going to show up tired and not interesting,
Miserable,
not interested, miserable, or like whatever other, like, yeah.
Yeah, that's why whenever I go to dates, I always wear my harness and my thong underneath, just to be like
prepared.
Just to be like, yeah, I'm prepared, right? I always have my douche kit, my poppers with me, because you never know. At least you're prepared, but at least you're curious and like, you know that you're going into something that should be fun and you should be like excited about it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, like, I wish that the like younger version of me knew all of this. Cause I would get offended so quickly on dates. Oh my God. I get triggered so quickly.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'd get offended on a date. I mean, like I remember a guy asking me like maybe 10 minutes after the food arrived. It's like, so do you swallow? And I'm like, there was actually no lead in.
Wow.
There's no lead in. It's not like we got there. It's just like, it was almost like, hey, it was just, we're talking about something unrelated. And then it's like, so do you swallow? And I'm like,
wow.
And I'm like, you know what? This is something that you would find out, like probably soon enough, but yeah, we're kind of done. And so we finished dinner. I didn't answer because I was pretty stuck up, and I'll call myself because it's true. So finished the date. He wanted to walk me home because I live like, I don't know, 5 minutes away from the restaurant.
From where you date. Yeah.
Yeah. And the restaurant was kind of like midway between like where we both lived. And so, and I said like, oh, like, don't worry. Like I'm literally like, I only have one road to cross to get home and one intersection. And then so he leaned in to kiss me and I wasn't really keen on kissing back. So I kind of pulled back and the kiss was kind of like it, I mean, it really wasn't a kiss. So when he got home, he says, hey, what did he say? He said something along the lines of, hey, I'd really want a better kiss. And he says, no, and then he retracted. He says, no, he says like, I'd really like, and basically I get what he's saying now, but at the time I was like insulted. I'm like, better kiss. I'm like, you're lucky that your lips touched me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So consider yourself to be fortunate. So yeah, so that was like one of my dating stories. Another dating story was where I bought tickets to, this is before everything went digital and you could buy, like everything got on phones. So I bought a pair of tickets to go see a movie and my date had he was, I think, part of the swim team or something like that. So he had like a practice before the movie and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So the movie probably started, I don't know, like at 7:15. And it was like, this is actually at the beginning when you got to pick your seat. And so I had both tickets and it was like VIP. So it was like the most expensive, blah, 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 but it was like quiet. And he showed up, the movie had started. So I basically had to wait in the lobby to get, it's not like I could say, okay, well, like we both have seats side by side. I'm going to be inside and you just friggin' show up when you show up. So he showed up late. We missed the beginning of the movie and then we walked. So I was livid at that point. And again, there's a situation where like he lived further away, but in the same direction as where I live. So we kind of like walked back. And as we parted ways, he says, like, I forgot, like, let me like pay you for my ticket. And he actually pulled out like a free admission to pay me for his ticket. And then I'm like, so it was like, for me in my head, oh my God, I'm like, could the date go any worse? And of course it did. So wow. Yeah. But again, it was me not knowing what was going on. And I would just get triggered because I made it mean something about me. And it's like, okay, so like, what if this isn't about me? What if this guy doesn't like just shows up this way because he's just unaware? What if this guy
He's
shows up
fully
this way
ignorant.
because,
He's never been on a date.
well, or whatever reason,
Whatever.
right? Let me
Yeah.
let me cut him some slack. Like, what does me cutting him some slack look like? And so when I started shifting how I saw things, and things started occurring differently for me. So because not everything, and I mean, like, your ego is gonna like not like this, but not everything is about you or about me.
No way.
So
You mean the world doesn't revolve around me?
yeah, right.
You're lying.
And so that was, and of course for me, dating was terrible because I'd come up with like, that's who I would go on dates with and it wasn't enjoyable and it wasn't fun. And when things didn't work out the way that I wanted, I'm like, okay, so like what's going on here? And not really understanding getting hey, there's a common thread here, but not noticing that the common thread was me, making it that the common thread was like, ugh, all the guys in Toronto suck, so it's time to move somewhere else. Or
They do though. Ugh,
but
gross.
I mean, like, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's like
Yes.
Oftentimes we've got this belief about who others are. And so you'll be dating in Toronto or in whatever major city or any city, and you'll get to a point sometimes where you're like, oh my God, like all the good ones are taken. There's no decent guys that want a relationship. All the guys are in open relationships. All the guys want to cheat on their boyfriend. And so that's the belief that you're creating about men in a city. And they say, okay, well, you know what? I will change cities. I will move to Vancouver. I'll move to New York. I'll move to Boston. I'll move to Miami, to San Francisco, wherever. And because I'm over the men in current city. And you get there and things change a little at the beginning. At the beginning, it changes because the dynamics are different, right? But soon enough, what you avoided dealing with quickly
in your former city comes back
quickly gets the postal service quickly readdresses it and finds your current address and just drops it on your doorstep without you even knowing. And then all of a sudden it's like, great. It's like, wait a sec, like, oh, great. So all the guys in San Francisco or New York are just like the guys in Toronto and this and that. And so that's where it becomes a slippery slope, is if you're not aware that that's what you're doing and you're always sort of like going to wanting to change the exterior and not even look at what's going
inside
on your side. So
yeah, I can totally relate because I used to approach dating and paint every single guy with the same brush because 100% of my trauma has been caused by men, like through sexual assault, through whatever.
So can I ask you a couple of questions? So what are your beliefs? Like, what must you be believing about men, like gay men?
So my beliefs in gay men are that they hate fat people. You have to be white in order to be considered sexy. You have to be like extremely muscular and fit. You got to have money. They're always looking for a big dick or whatever. And you should be open to, like, I don't know, fucking other people. And monogamy is absolutely not an option.
Right. So consider for a moment that you're not the only person that has these beliefs. That, hey, it's like that gay men only want casual or non-monogamy. That there are no gay men that want monogamy.
But there's nothing wrong with that, though. But
no, there isn't. But consider for a moment that if
for yourself,
if that's your beliefs for yourself and that's not what you want. If that's what you want, then it doesn't matter. If you don't want a monogamy in a relationship, and you think that all the guys out there are also into open relationships, yeah, exactly. Then you're fine because you're paired up. It'll work. Yeah. But if you are opposite, then what happens is that some quantum equation out there is basically looking at this. It's like, hey, it's like this guy here believes that all gay men, all they want is open relationships, that they don't want to have a monogamous relationship. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like flock him with everything that he believes, because like he believes like it's got to be true. So let me basically like send that and make him aware that his belief is true. It comes back down. It's almost like Aladdin and the genie. It's really along the be careful what you wish for and be impeccable with your words.
Oh, it's going to come back. It's going to come back to haunt
Because
you.
if that's what your beliefs are, and it's the same thing, if your beliefs in relationship are that they always end up in heartbreak, they never last, that they always cheat on you,
They're always,
then consider that that's what you're ordering, and that's what you'll see. That's what you'll get.
I used to think that like every single guy out there would just be after me, or like they always have malicious intent, because like I've been like only sexually assaulted by men. So back then when I was trying to date, it was very hard because I thought that, oh, here comes another rapist or something.
Yeah.
And like I have to kind of cut them some slack, because like I don't even know this guy. Why am I already making assumptions that he's going to hurt me or whatever?
Yeah.
It's not fair to him. It's not fair to me. And it's just not going to be fun.
Yeah.
Like let's give ourselves a little more leeway when it comes to vulnerability.
Yeah. And one thing that I always basically tell my clients is expose the lie. And sometimes the beliefs that you hold on the tightest are basically like, it's like all men are cheaters. Okay, so hold on. Like, really, are all men cheaters?
Yes.
Or is it just been
Yes, they are.
Or is it just been that you've attracted men that were cheaters because of potentially as a reflection as to how you felt about like what your beliefs were about you, that, hey, I'm not worth it. Well, if somebody cheats on you, it'll fuel the belief that you're not worth it. So there's the loop.
It's a feedback loop. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. Gross. Ugh. But you know what? It's so great, Yannick, what you're doing to help destroy that feedback loop. I feel that the work you're doing is absolutely amazing. And just like, thank you so much for coming on the show and like sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your very good looks. Naked coach indeed, wink wink. But like, oh my goodness.
Tim,
not to be like enough. Yeah.
It's you know what? I've been like, this has been like the wildest ride, like the last like 4 years since I've become a coach. It's been like, and I'm saying this like in an amazing, great way. It's been like the wildest and most fun ride that I've been on. Like legit, like what I've discovered about myself, what I'm able to help people, like uncover, transform, overcome, step away from, like whatever it is that you want to call it, is just, it's been, you know what? I don't know any other career that like has gotten me so this. Yeah. And so like I left I was real estate broker for 15 years before. And I left that because I wasn't passionate about it. And I really I just love what I do now. And I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity to work with people and help them sort of like I said, sometimes it's just baby steps, right? It's just like, hey, it's like you just need to take, I get it. Like, but hey, if you take this one step, it might not look like much, but guarantee you that like 90 days from now, you'll look back and you'll be grateful that you took that first step and that second step when you weren't sure that you would get to where you are today.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with me. I left the music industry to become a sex educator, and it just feels so much better, so much more rewarding. Follow your passions, people. Get curious with yourself, and you will find what makes you happy. Ask yourself, what's going to make me happy? What's going to make me feel better? Yes, work. Yeah. Oh my God. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for the audience, Yannick? Just,
you know what, the one thing that I can say is that if you're feeling that you're hey, it's I'm not lucky, I'm not this, I'm not that, and you're feeling stuck, you know what? There is help that's available. And so sometimes it's just really learning how to harness the power of your brain and sort of start to run it yourself, as opposed to the other way around, that your brain runs you and keeps you in your hiding spot, in your safety zone, in your comfort zone. And so just as you might sometimes feel discouraged, that, oh my God, it's going to take too long to do this. Consider that maybe it's been 25, 30, 40, 50 years that you've conditioned yourself this way. And yeah, you know what? You might be right that it's not going to be an overnight thing. Just like showing up at the gym one day isn't going to give you the six pack. But I can guarantee you that you can start to transform and really get to overcome and weaken these adaptive behaviors so that they no longer have such a sway on you at a subconscious level that you're not even aware of. Because we get anywhere between 70 and 90,000 thoughts a day. And so there's no way consciously that you can catch every one. But the more that you step into this, and the more that you understand how it works, the easier that these thoughts, as they come across, you literally can grab them and ask yourself, hey, is this true? And if it's not, then you can say, hey, I get how I believe this, but this isn't true. And so there lies the power. Because you get to a place like Viktor Frankl said, between what was it? What's this famous quote about the reaction, the event and the reaction? There's a space. And so what this allows you to do is, instead of always reacting the same way at a subconscious level, this basically helps you create that space where when you get to that crossroad, you're not automatically choosing to go down to hang a right, for example. You get there and you say, hey, wait a sec. I normally take a right here, but I know that taking a right doesn't get me to where I want. So what other options are available to me? So what happens if I go straight? What happens if I go left? Not to say that you might not get the same result, but at least you're trying something different. And there lies your power to basically create something different in the end.
Yes. Oh my God, the power's within you. Mm-hmm. Yay. Oh my God.
Dorothy
Yannick.
in The Wizard of Oz. It's you always had the power. It was always within you.
Somewhere over the rainbow. And that's all that we can use for that. Yannick, thank you so much for coming on the show. Can you please make a butt and plug away anything that you want the audience to find?
Thanks, Tim. So I can be found on Instagram at The Naked Coach. So that's one word, The Naked Coach. I'm also on LinkedIn. So if you want to look me up, my full name, Yannick Picard, and you can find me there. That's usually the two places where I'm more active on. I'm more active on LinkedIn. Even if you're just questioning, even if you just want to have a conversation about, hey, I don't know how what adaptive behaviors I've picked up. I'm curious. I'm curious to know what they are. Or you might know, hey, I'm a people pleaser and I get how this is limiting me. Anything, please just reach out, and I'm happy to jump have a conversation with you and help you see what you might not have known has been there for quite some time. And actually, there's something that I want to say. It's kind of a joke with respect to ghosting, because you brought that up earlier. And so we all know what ghosting is, right? When somebody kind of like disappears, stops
Cuts off
texting.
communication. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you know what caspering is?
No, what is that?
So caspering is a friendly ghost. It's when you both ghost each other.
Oh.
So Casper is a friendly ghost.
No.
And do you know what a haunted house is?
No, what is that?
So a haunted house is when you walk into a party and a bunch of people who've ghosted you are there. So that's a haunted house.
Nightmare. My absolute nightmare. I do not want that ever. Or to be in a room full of the people that I've ghosted. No, thank you.
But that you know what? Ghosting is a topic for another day, but there is so much information in the act of being ghosted and in the act of ghosting. It's quite remarkable. Like when you start like digging in and looking at this from the various facets that come up, it's really just like, yeah, it's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Humans are fascinating. Yannick, you're fascinating. And you're just truly one of the best guests I've had on the show. Thank you so much for coming on. And to all the listeners that have made it this far into this chaotic ass episode, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Sex Ed with Tim. Please don't forget to leave a review. And you know what? Just thank you. Be curious and live your best life. And with that, I bid you adieu and good night. And I'll see you at the next episode. Mwah! Thanks for listening to the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. Sex Ed with Tim is created and produced by me, Tim Lagman. Music is Aces High by Kevin MacLeod. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GaySlutClown and at Sex Ed with Tim. You can also like and follow me on the Sex Ed with Tim Facebook page. If you enjoyed the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for all your support, you dirty little slut.